The actual word potter, if you ask a pagan, a witch, any knowledgeable expert in the occult or hidden arts, the potter is the female goddess, the goddess of Babylon, who is considered the potter who created human beings from clay. And they believe that the patriarchal God of Christianity, the God of Israel, copied that in a very poor imitation because he cannot give birth. Now listen to how important that is to understand. The feminine-oriented cult of witchcraft sees the woman and her process of birth as fundamental in the new life, the transformation, the alchemy, the changing of the inner man to higher consciousness, which is what Harry Potter is all about. In fact, that's what the first book is called, The Sorcerer's Stone, the alchemy of being transformed and changed through the inner man to become a new creature, which is again an upside-down reversal of what a Christian believes, that when they come into understanding a relationship, a personal relationship with Christ, they are transformed.
The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Disguised as a serpent, the accuser used Eve's innate innocence and ignorance of evil to entice her. Using her curiosity, he seduced her into disobeying God simply by planting a question in her mind. Is God good, or is he keeping something from you? Something that will make you more like him? Did God really say, you must not eat from any tree in the garden? For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil.
The devil is described in Scripture as the accuser of the brethren. When he stands before God, he makes allegations and accusations against mankind. He admits that he walks the earth to and fro. His primary objective is to separate God and man. He hopes that separation will be forever. According to Christian and Jewish faith, Satan was a created being made by God. He now operates as an angel of light. As a matter of fact, his name, Lucifer, means light. In his original beauty, he stood at the zenith of God's creatures. The book of Ezekiel gives a very poetic description of that beauty.
You were the model of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone adorned you, ruby, topaz and emerald, chrysolite, onyx, jasper, sapphire, turquoise and beryl. Your settings and mountings were made of gold. On the day you were created, they were prepared. You were anointed as the guardian cherub, for so I ordained you. You were on the holy mount of God. You walked among the fiery stones. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created, until wickedness was found in you. Lucifer was not satisfied. He wanted more. Ezekiel goes on to say that Lucifer became vain. His vanity corrupted his wisdom and his nature. He became filled with violence within and sinned. Lucifer convinced a third of the angels to join him in revolting against God. He desired to usurp God's authority and rule the universe himself. The prophet Isaiah wrote, "How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation, on the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." Though Lucifer failed in his attempt to rule the universe in God's place, he nevertheless continues to build his kingdom on earth in an attempt to thwart God's plan for mankind. Through lies, confusion, and division, the devil camouflages his evil intentions by clouding the reality of certain ideas, beliefs, concepts, customs, rituals, and religions, making them appealing and acceptable. He is a master strategist in creating illusions. He comes as a friend, a benefactor.
Well, I think I first got involved with It started with just kind of like a fascination with the occult and the mystery around it. I think the real involvement started with Ouija boards. Yeah, but when I got older and I started searching for answers to life's questions, I turned to the devil. I think I was just kind of searching maybe for the meaning of life or why I exist, you know. It was probably more like he found me because he saw me searching and looking for answers.
Satan now comes as an angel of light, transforming, concealing his true identity. He does not come with a tail and horns and a pitchfork. Rather, he comes as intense fear or thrilling horror or a promise of power or position. He comes with gifts, with wealth, with promises of safety. He comes as the subtle suggestion within, enticing and alluring men into believing him, coming to him without resistance.
Are you kidding? I have to give you my soul?
After you've had your wishes, of course.
But it's my soul!
What's the big deal? Have you ever seen your soul? Do you even know what it is?
Of course, it's the thing that
Has yours done anything for you so far? No, it's like your appendix. You'll never even miss it.
Hey, yeah, well, if it's so useless, then how come you want it so much?
Jesus described him as a liar. He was a murderer from the beginning. He's a thief and a robber who comes to steal, kill, and destroy. His intention is clear and unchanging. He desires the ultimate annihilation of mankind. His web of evil ensnares the world and its unsuspecting inhabitants in an insidious and deliberate scheme. He has devised a strategy and set up a system of pain and destruction to operate in every sector of human endeavor and experience. Satan's strategy especially targets critical areas. Worship is the ultimate indicator of love and power, and as such is an integral part of Lucifer's motivation. Originally designed as the worship leader of heaven, Lucifer was created for worship, not to be worshipped. His desire to be the object of worship caused him to incite a revolution against God and the 2/3 of the angels who had remained loyal. Idolatry and demon worship can take many forms and have spawned countless religions, cults, and occult practices. Mankind's innate fear of the unknown and his natural desire for power have mingled to breed a strange assortment of beliefs and customs. Every culture in every age has created rituals to stave off evil or to curry favor. None seems to be without its own set of superstitions, supernatural phenomena, and spiritual expectations, all of which are in direct violation of the first and second commandments. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them.
In Leviticus 17, God made it clear to his people that if they were going to be his people and enter into the covenant of his protection, they could no longer offer their sacrifices to demons.
History shows that not only were these commandments ignored, but people deliberately chose to delve even further into the kingdom of darkness. The book of Deuteronomy provides lists of practices forbidden by God. Plagued by disbelief and afflicted by the consequences of their choices, the Israelites failed to heed the strong warnings made by God throughout the Old Testament. Despite God's warning not to worship demons, they continued to choose to come under the influence of carved images, sticks, and stones they had designated as gods, not realizing that the power behind the object was a demon who worked the magic and gave them power. Let no one be found among you who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or who is a medium or spiritist, or who consults the dead. For all these things are an abomination to the Lord.
Then there's the concept of curses. Now, of course, white witches, or those that purport to be on the white side of the occult or hidden knowledge, will say that they don't use curses in a derogatory way. However, Harry symbolizes white magic, and Harry uses curses or his magic for vengeance. When his auntie says something horrid about his dead mummy, and calls her a name that Harry doesn't like, he does magic on her, and she blows up, she gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and that is very, very cruel magic, and that is a curse, and the sort of extension of spells that Harry is learning. So the reader is learning that they can be involved in vengeance through curses, and perhaps the curses in Harry Potter's books aren't legitimate curses, but once again they can go to the websites to get legitimate curses. But the point is that here is a practice that God finds so distasteful, because he says that vengeance is mine, and we are not to retaliate and cause poison through curses to our enemies. Harry Potter isn't the only book that's going on and on teaching the readers that curses have power. Hollywood also is showing us that curses have power. There's this graphic scene in The Craft that shows that a girl has upset another girl, and so there's a little braiding in the scene here that she wants to put a curse on her through her hair falling out, and through the power of the curse and the rituals and whatever words are used, the hair falls out, and this girl is screaming and writhing, and so she doesn't know what's happened, and of course she has no idea of the curse, but what's being told to the viewer is that there is. Many have argued that Joanne Rowling is not teaching the children witchcraft, and the books are not about witchcraft, because the spells aren't legitimate spells, and because J.K. Rowling just pulls out very, very funny Latin words, and she obviously knows her Latin, and she's very humorous with the way that she tosses out expelloramus, which gets rid of a spell, or any of the other numbers of spells that she puts in Latin.
Petrificus totalis. Petrificus totalis.
The principle is that if you learn certain words, you can have power. And the books, the Harry Potter series, are connected to websites that get you into arenas where there are experts at teaching you the spells, the legitimate spells. What the reader is being introduced into in Harry is that there is legitimacy in rituals and spells, which are a sort of another word, let's say, of repetitive prayers, as Jesus said in Matthew, that don't be like the Gentiles and the pagans that just repeat their prayers for what they want.
Queen of heaven, Queen of hell, horned hunter of the night, lend your power unto our spell.
This is what spells are, repetitive prayer, which sort of induces a self-hypnosis that gives you the idea that your inner potential power, your psychic abilities,
there's a possibility if you don't cast a circle, the forces that could come into the room could take over in a form of possession. We had one example here where one young woman, a nurse, was possessed by, I don't know what it was, but a horrible voice came through her and she passed out.
Hail to the guardians of the watchtowers of the east, the powers of air and invention. Hear me! Us! Hear us!
Hail to the guardians of the watchtowers of the south, powers of fire and feeling. Hear us! Hail to the guardians of the watchtowers of the west, powers of water and intuition. Hear us!
Hail to the guardians of the watchtowers of the north by the powers of mother and earth. Hear us! Aid us in our magical working on this May's Eve. Serpent of old, ruler of deep, guardian of the bitter sea, show us your glory. Show us your power. We pray of thee. We pray of thee. We invoke thee. Oh, sacred one, hear our call. Hear our prayers. thy ways. We summon and stir thee. Lend us your power. Show us your glory. We invoke thee. We invoke thee. We invoke thee. Fill us. Fill us.
We have what we call contacts. There are other names for them. They are beings, that's the easy thing to call them, which can be people who have lived on the earth, or they can be God forms.
They become almost as real as the people standing next to you. And whoever else you call doesn't actually materialize. You can't see them in the physical sense, but mentally you know that they are there. You can see them in your mind's eye.
I have, on occasion, touched upon, I suppose you could call them spirit guides. People describe them in a different way. I am aware of a hierarchy of spiritual advisors who live on another plane of consciousness that you can approach, that will acknowledge you and advise you and assist you.
I can feel him running through my veins. He's still in me.
And we know that there's such a thing as possession because Voldemort possesses the Defense Against the Arts teacher in the book where he's sucking the unicorn. We know that he possesses the little 11-year-old girl through her writings in a journal where her feelings, her emotions, her thoughts that she is writing in the diary of the young Voldemort is giving him power to rise up. And he possesses this girl, and he mocks and laughs at Harry later on in the book when he says she didn't even know that she was killing on Halloween when she had blood all over, and she'd write in the diary, I don't know what came into me. I think I'm going mad because I'm doing things that I have no control over. So here she was, a little 11-year-old girl in Harry Potter's book, possessing children.
Many parents don't recognize the danger of witchcraft because they look at their experience and they didn't experience that when they were growing up. They relegate witchcraft to Africa or some foreign country. They don't know how pervasive it is today in the youth culture. I know a 9-year-old girl in a Christian school who said, I love Harry Potter. I've always wanted to be a witch. I want to have the same power he has. The daughter of a pastor wakes up at night dreaming of being able to use the same powers as Harry. She's grown up in the church. She even witnesses to people who are in Wicca, but does not recognize what she's dreaming about is to actually use demonic power. I had a young youth pastor tell me recently about a girl who came to be part of his youth group, but she was also part of Wicca. She began recruiting children out of his youth group. He wasn't aware that those in Wicca take great joy out of seducing Christian children into Wicca. But Christian children are usually easy prey, for they don't understand witchcraft or what to look out for. Why has God warned us of witchcraft? He knows the dangers. He knows the spirits behind witchcraft. He knows they're out to kill, destroy, and rob people of their life. He knows that those who use the power of witchcraft have opened themselves up to these powers to come into them and to control them. And when they open themselves up to these spirits, they find themselves doing obsessive compulsive things such as drugs and sex and alcohol and many other destructive and violent activities. It's interesting that on the one hand they sought this power to have control, and in the end they've lost control of themselves.
search for meaning and significance, some are enticed into seeking a deeper revelation and relationship with spiritual beings. Originally created to be in a spiritual relationship with God, makes turning to the spirit world for answers a natural response. Though many seek God for comfort and redemption, others choose a more mysterious and forbidden path. Wanting the more immediate pleasures and promises that evil offers makes hedonism, paganism, witchcraft, and Satanism all popular alternative lifestyle choices. Accessing the spiritual world can take many avenues and can begin as easily as going to a movie or reading a book. The dangers of darkness, though not always readily apparent, are nonetheless real. Those who enter such relationships do so at great peril to their own souls. Some make a deliberate choice to follow the devil, professing their intentions openly.
It wasn't uncommon for people to be inducted by scarification at all.
What's called scarification?
Scarification.
I was part of the group that would watch the head priest do the sacrificing. And the thing that made me freak out about the whole deal is when they actually did a human sacrificial.
You actually saw that?
Yeah. And what they did is, if you guys don't mind me getting into detail about it, I could get a little bit of trouble for this too. What went on is they laid down a black silk sheet that had a pentagram painted on it, and they laid black candles around in each corner. And in order for a female to be joined in, or what the cult that I was in, for a woman to get involved into Satanism, what they did is they took a knife and carved the satanic pentagram, like what's on her shirt, into her chest, and it drained the blood off of her chest into a glass. And they'd pass it around to each person. They'd have to drink out of the glass. So they'd have to drink this other person's blood. And then that girl was a member of the satanic cult.
Did you actually see a human being sacrifice them?
Yeah, that's what scared the hell out of me, and that's why I decided to quit. It's on end where I'd hear the voice of small children screaming when I close my eyes at night to go to sleep. And also, I'd like walk around, and from leaving the satanic cult, there's been forces that actually threw me against walls. And I went to church one day to free myself from it. My arm literally busted open in the spot. I got a little bit of a scar to prove it, so right there. And my arm started gushing blood up. I mean, I would not want to see anything like that happen to you. So I would suggest giving it some deep thought. I mean, it's nothing to mess around with. It's getting in touch with the dark side of the world. And a lot of people think, well, demons ain't really all that real. But what I saw...
What did you see?
I was laying down one night and I heard something rattling underneath this little bamboo bench that I had. And I looked underneath there, I just like heard something like laugh with like a demonic growl. And it laughed and I heard something scurry across the floor. And the next day, I was cooking some breakfast and I saw a tail that was probably about like that around, that had no hair on it, it was all skin and veins. And I saw that and I was thinking, well, that's just a snake. But then again, after that, I heard the same thing rattle, like some like railing up against something, and I heard that little laugh. And that's when I realized that I opened up some doors that were not supposed to be there.
Self-serving presentation of dark powers, they make their initial efforts through portals of light. The incentive to connect with darkness is enhanced by the thrill of horror, or the internalization of power and the feelings of being in control. Casting spells and mixing potions to manipulate others makes the practice of witchcraft both fun and appealing. They actively seek out a relationship with Satan, for assistance and guidance.
And I wanted to have my own, power and to go straight to the man they're worshiping anyway, Satan. Yeah, I guess it just started with like different chants and stuff. I guess I got kind of greedy, and I just started commanding these spirits to do what I wanted them to do. And it appeared to me like they were doing it, because I'd see my friends manifest all around me. Well, I was walking to work one day. I was supposed to fill in for my dad while he was at work. And I looked across the street, and I looked through the window, and he was in the store talking to this man. And instantly I just felt fear just move through my body, just instant fear. And I looked at his face, and it was his body, but his face was the face of this demon. It had these short, stubby horns, and this kind of green leatherish face kind of went down and kind of pointed. And it was looking right at me, and I kind of went insane after I saw it. And I think something got inside me because I kind of just completely lost control of my life. I felt like I was kind of just trapped inside. Like I knew what was kind of going on, but I was kind of helpless to do anything about it. It wasn't like they were telling me what to do, they were doing it through me. It just felt like I didn't even have any control anymore. I'd gone too far in this thing. And when it felt like I had lost control, that's when I got scared, because before that, it felt like I was in control of the situation. And it started very innocently, and then it progressed, and to the point where I didn't have control anymore. Satan had brought me to an all-time low, and I felt like there was so much of him in my life and so little of me that it's like he almost brought me into a different spiritual realm at times. And where I would see these little black dots floating around, and I wasn't on drugs, I was completely sober. It's almost like he brought me into the spiritual realm to see what was going on or something. But there's all these black dots, and instantly I knew those were demons. I didn't actually see the entire body of the demon, but I saw the dots and how they would fly from person to person, and they'd attach themselves either on their shoulders, or if they wouldn't attach themselves, they'd just visit the person and move on. Well, they looked about softball size. They all looked black. Some of it looked like blacker than other ones, but they were all about softball size, and it felt like I had power, like over them, like I could tell them to go to that person and focus the energies or whatever that on them, and I could see this dot come and attach itself to the back of this person, and it would stay there. To the skeptic, I'd probably tell them, I think for a split second, if anyone's thought of the spiritual realm, they'd have a completely different perception on life, because the Bible even says the spiritual is more real than the physical. And I know for a fact when I started doing this stuff, and the demon would attach himself, I could smell the burning of flesh. When I made a conscious decision to give my life to Christ, the pastors would bind the spirit in me, whatever spirit they were dealing with, and cast it out in the name of Jesus. And they'd pray in tongues, or they'd say be loosed and different things. And it felt like this thing was being literally ripped out of my soul, and it was extremely painful. At times, the thing would take over my body, and I'd roll around on the carpet, and I had rug burns all over my face and arms and stuff, and it was extremely painful. It is extremely painful.
I want you to obtain this video and share it with your friends, your grandchildren, your children. And especially if your pastor has not seen this video, I'd like for you to share it with him. I know he'll want to share it with the congregation. And then there are those teachers, the school board members that need to see this film. Also, the politicians that govern you.
There will be many, many questions that haven't been answered in this video, and many questions that your friends or relatives or readers of Harry Potter would like answered. I would like you to visit this web page and email me with your questions, and I will try and answer all your questions through email.
One of the great advantages we have today is email. There's a link on this website which will teach you how to use email to inform as many people as possible about the Harry Potter phenomena and danger.
I would encourage you to come to our webpage, visit this site to get more information, to get help, to get advice, and to be introduced to materials out there that can help you with some of these concerns.
On this website, there's also a place for you to subscribe to a free newsletter. In the days to come, there will be many other issues. There will be many other books. There will be many other ways that the pagans and the witches attempt to influence our children. Through this newsletter, you can be kept informed. Also at this website, there will be a concerned group link, which will allow people to communicate what they're doing about the growing phenomena of paganism, witchcraft, and the use of Harry Potter and related books. If this were an auto race, the pagans and the witches would have lapped us many times. They've gained this advantage because of the ignorance of Christians. To show an example, there is a book in which a person actually justifies Harry Potter through Scripture. I cannot think of anything more blasphemous. Here we have Harry Potter, a wizard, going to a school to learn how to better use demonic power. And this individual is justifying these books through Scripture.
We need to be educated and aware about what is the content of the Harry Potter books, what is the phenomenon that is sweeping through the globe at the moment, and what is the purpose of this indoctrination. Where is it coming from? What is behind Harry Potter? All these things are part of our educational process.
As you've noted on this video, there's a tremendous number of internet sites offering all kinds of witchcraft wares to your children. There's only one filter at this time that I know of that will filter out these witchcraft sites along with pornography sites.
At this moment, there is only one